Hi, and welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today's project, we have a 2008, it's a Toyota Highlander, and we're going to be replacing the front brake pads and the front rotors. The first thing we want to do is go in here with a small screwdriver or pry bar and push the piston back into the bore as far as it'll go. Then we take our long-handled ratchet. The longer the handle, the more leverage you're going to get, so get a longer handle. Make sure you use a good quality socket. And we're going to remove the two bolts that hold the caliper into the mounting bracket itself. Make sure these bolts in the back, we'll take them out and keep them because we're going to need to reuse them again. We're going to take our caliper off of the vehicle, and we're going to support it. We're not going to let it dangle. We'll let it hang up out of our way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be removing our brake pads and mounting bracket. These clips we're going to throw away because these spreader clips, we're going to be replacing these, so we don't need them. Then what we're going to do is in the back of the rotor, in the back of the mounting bracket I should say, we're going to take out those bolts that I showed you. Alright, break a bolt loose. They're usually pretty tight. Take these bolts all the way out. We're going to take the caliper off the car. The caliper mounting bracket, I should say. And we're going to keep these bolts because we are going to need to reuse them again. Just take the caliper off. Caliper bracket, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the rotor off the car or truck. Now, before you do anything, putting the new rotor back on, you have to make sure that all of this rust on here is cleaned off. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a pulsating brake pedal. So let's clean that off, and I'll show you how that's going to. You can use sandpaper or whatever you've got. I'm going to use a disc that's on here made for that. Get it off pretty well. Now we're just going to clean in the back right here, and we'll be all set. Alright, what I usually do is I put the rotor onto the car, and I screw a lug onto it to hold it and stabilize it so it doesn't move around while I'm trying to mount the new brakes and the caliper bracket back onto the car. So just screw a lug nut on, it'll hold it fairly tight and keep it from slopping around too much. Alright, now let's get back to the caliper and putting the brake pads in, and we're also going to be replacing some of the hardware that comes in a hardware kit. So let's get over to the bench and I'll show you how that goes. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to replace these clips here. These sometimes are a little bit of a pain to do because you have to try to squeeze everything back in there. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove these slide pins right here, and we're going to lubricate them before we put the caliper bracket back onto the car. Just a little bit of lube like this, and it makes it slide nice and easily so that it doesn't bind up and cause a problem. Same thing on this one here. This one is actually a little bit frozen. That's why you want to lubricate it so it doesn't stick. Right, like this, and then you'll notice it slides nice and easy as it's supposed to. See, put the correct lube on there; it works really well. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to be removing. Then we're going to be replacing these clips right here. So you just pry them out with a screwdriver. Take them out of here. They sometimes a little rusty, they pop out. get in here with a screwdriver and you can get them right out. All right. Then what I always do is inside here you have a lot of rust inside here on these. Just clean it up a little bit so you have a good surface for the new clips to go up against. If you don't have a file, use sandpaper to clean it out a little bit. Alright, and then we're going to replace the clips with the ones that came out. And they just snap right in like this, and they push right in just like that. And the same thing on this side over here. We're going to reinstall this clip right here. It just pushes right in. These little tabs fit right over the shoe, I mean the bracket. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be replacing this one here and this one also. We clean it up a little bit, just to clean the rust. Alright, that's it. Now we're going to put the new clips back in now. Match them up, the ones that came out. As you can see, this is not the right one for that side, but it is the right one for this side, right? And then we just put it in and push it down. Same thing, put it in and push it down. And we take a little bit of the grease and we put it right here where the brake pad is going to slide, like that. Same thing on the top, right? Just enough to lubricate it. Then we take our brake pad. Now we know this was the outer brake pad. We're going to put this clip here back onto the outer brake pad. We're not going to use this one, but we're going to install the new one that came with the hardware kit. It's a good idea to always change the hardware whenever you do these jobs. But it snaps right in, just like that. So now we know that this is going to be our outer brake pad. This is going to be our inner brake pad, because we saw where the caliper pistons were touching. And we're going to put the clip on the top, right up here, the same way that it came off. We put it back on. Okay. Then what we're going to do is, we know that this is the inner brake pad because we have it like this, and we know this is the inner one. And now we're going to put it right back into the caliper here. This is a little bit tough sometimes. If you put it in sideways and you push this piece in first, it'll go in a little bit easier. Alright, as you can see, it is a pain in the rear end getting these in there, but that's what it should look like when it's back in there. So let me get the other one in here, and then we'll bring it right back over to the car and we'll install it back on the car. Have patience though, it is frustrating. And we're in, and we just tap it down. And that's it. That basically keeps the brake pad from rattling inside here. Alright, so let's bring it back over to the car, and we're going to get this job wrapped up. Now we're back to putting the caliper back onto the car. Those clips are a little bit of a pain in the rear end, so I'm sure you're a little frustrated from that. And then when you get the caliper back onto the car, just squeeze the pads in so that they don't pop out by accident. And then you catch the bolts that we previously took out in the back of the rotor, the 17 millimeters. Tighten them in. And then grab your ratchet and tighten the bolts up, holding the brake pads in so they don't pop out. Check your bottom bolt one more time, make sure. Nice and tight. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to switch the light over so you can see. Okay, we're going to be installing these new spreader clips that came with it. There's tiny little holes in the top of each brake pad and the bottom of each brake pad. These actually fit inside here like this, and then you spread it and you put it into the second hole right there. Hold the brake pads in because those spreader clips are going to push it out. Now I'm going to show you what I do to make it a little bit easier for you. You remember you hung your caliper. We're going to take our piece off of here, and then what we're going to do, we're going to push the caliper back into the bore. You can use a C-clamp to do it. You can use any kind of a spreader. They sell lots of different ones in the stores. You put your brake pads in, and you push the pistons all the way back into the bore as far as they can go. Push it all the way in nice and easy. And then once you push them in all the way as far as they can go, I might add, if these pistons don't push in easily and they stick, you need to change the caliper also. Alright, then we can take this tool back off. These are the old brake pads, so we're going to discard them now. What I normally do to make it a little bit easier, because you're going to try to hold these in here and it's going to be very difficult. Lay the caliper back in where it belongs. Put the top bolt in and just catch it. You don't have to tighten it, just catch it in there. A couple of threads. And then just rotate your caliper up and out of the way like this. You take your spreader clips and you install the top spreader clips. Hold the brake pads here. You don't want them popping out. Otherwise you're going to have to deal with getting them back in where they belong again into those clips there. Alright, you put that one in like that, and then you come to the bottom one, and you do the same thing. You put the bottom one in, like that. Right? Holding the brake pads in now, rotate your caliper back down where it belongs, and now that keeps the brake pads from popping open and dislodging from where it belongs. Alright, you screw it in as tight as you can by hand, and then you get on here with your 14mm ratchet and tighten it up. Sometimes that slide pin in the back sticks a little or spins. You can just hold it with your finger or a wrench. Most of the time you can hold it with your finger. I always have a wrench with me just in case to hold it, but you know, we're good. Alright, tighten it up. No, we're not good. It actually is spinning, so. What you do is you get in here with a wrench and you hold the slide pin in the back. Tighten it up. Same thing on the top. Tighten it up. And you snug it. That's it. Alright, so let me recap what we're up to right here. Okay, we took off these, we tightened the both bolts on the caliper. We tightened up the mounting bracket in the back, underneath in the back over here, that we previously took off. And we have our hardware in, and we have our spreader clips in, and that's it. We're all set. We're going to go to the opposite side now. We're going to change the ones on the passenger side, and then we're going to wrap this job up and get it out the door. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.